The Square Ball Podcast.
Welcome to the show. It's brought to you with Levi Solicitors. 10% off your legal fees at levisolicitors.co.uk/the Square Ball. Dan, Michael and Moscow with you here. Part 2 of the show is the West Ham preview. We've got the FA Cup third round game on Sunday. Are we on the telly? We're on the telly, aren't we?
Probably, yeah. It's exciting, isn't it, the FA Cup?
Is it terrestrial telly?
Could be. We should have probably checked this before we started recording, but here we are. We'll have a look now. Do it on the hoof. But anyway, yes.
Everybody could see our shame.
I mean, this won't be, for a change, this would be a fairly routine defeat, wouldn't it? I feel like we normally like to be a bit special when we're getting knocked out of the FA Cup, but this would be
predictable and acceptable. I think
this would be fine, wouldn't it? I'd rather
ITV One.
ITV One.
Oh wow!
Good.
You know what ITV is? We learned this at Histon.
On Channel 3.
Are you being nice to your ex-employers there, Michael?
Of course, I forgot there was a conflict there, wasn't there?
I've no reason to be, really. The football coverage regularly was. There was us, and then there was the game where... Was it an England game? Or I think it was a Liverpool-Everton FA Cup game when they cut to a Tic Tacs advert during... as the goal was scored in extra time.
Was that your doing?
No, I wasn't in charge of that sort of thing.
You weren't trusted with the Tic Tacs account.
It would have been much worse if I'd been in charge of it.
I will sell you a slot during the game.
Yeah. As a cross goes in the box, I promise we'll cut straight to
it. So being on the telly, the nation can witness our non-shame on Sunday.
It don't really matter, does it?
Well, I mean, we're going to play pretty much our first-ish team here, aren't we?
Are we?
Just about. Well, we've only really got a first team available now. Is what I was thinking.
It's going to be the first team or a very, very young team.
Eddie Gray has fond memories of Westfield at the London Olympics. I was going to put Eddie in and play the kids for this game.
Right. Eddie in and play Archie.
Yeah, give Archie his debut. I don't know if we mentioned it on here, but when Archie was on the bench against Arsenal, he had a heart-stopping moment when we were making a change because one of the coaches had been given the instruction to where the players are warming up. He was pointing and went, "You come here." And I saw Archie Gray go, pointed himself, go, "Me?" And you think you're 15 years old and you're about to make your Premier League debut. He's like, no, not you, him. But there was just that little moment. I was wondering what that must have been like for Archie Gray to have that moment where he's pointing at you.
I'm not ready.
You're coming on.
I can't do it.
Well, that's the other thing was, I'm born ready, mate. Get me on that pitch. And then told to sit down again. So one of either two ways. But
what would you do with
he
this?
Can make his give Archie Gray his debut.
Is that what you do?
Make some cup history.
Would you
FA Cup's got no romance anymore, so get as many Grays back as we can. Eddie Gray as manager, Frank Gray can be his assistant. Andy probably still fit enough to play.
Nick
and
Gray.
Archie.
It was Nick Gray as well for a time.
Yeah, was Stuart Gray related, or was he? He was kind of an ancillary Gray.
Ancillary.
An annex Gray.
What would you do with this then, Michael? Would you go full strength in this? Because they're likely to rest some play. I don't know. On the one hand, I don't feel like we can afford to play a full strength team, but then on the other hand, I don't really know who else we can play.
I'd be tempted to rest Rafinha, just cause.
Put Bayern Munich off. I was right about Stuart Gray, by the way. Born Harrogate, he is Eddie Gray's son. Played for Celtic 1992 to 98, and then Green Morton, Oxford. He never really cut through, but at Celtic, everybody was like, "Whoa, really good Gray." So there's loads of them. He can come out. He can have a game. Carry on.
If Gray was to play in this game and throughout our cup run and get to the final, he'd be the youngest player to ever play in an FA Cup final, beating the record of... You'll never guess. No, played an FA Cup final.
Oh, okay.
Former Leeds
Jordan Bataka.
A former Leeds legend, Curtis Weston, played for Millwall in that final where Dennis Wise was in charge. So there you go.
Almighty. Great memories. So this is what I mean. The FA Cup, having been, that's the second time, maybe the third time that Dennis Wise has had his mucky paw prints on it. Being there with Wimbledon and Chelsea, and then Millwall. It needs saving. It needs the Greys. You could even do a little behind the scenes documentary about it, can't you?
In the real world, what do you think? What's going to happen?
I did have a look back at how West Ham generally approach the Cup, and they generally go for the approach of resting a few players, but they're fairly strong. they certainly don't completely take the piss of it like teams do with the League Cup, where they'll make like 11 changes. So I think they'll be fairly strong, and I kind of don't mind if we're not, but I don't see many options. So I think we've probably got a reasonable chance in this game because they're not in great form anymore. I know they've had a couple of wins, but not against great sides.
And they're fifth at the minute as well, right in the hunt for that Champions League spot. That's the only thing. I'm just looking at the table now. You've got Arsenal on played 20 with 35 points. They had the same games played with 34, so just a point behind. And then you've got Spurs, but they've got 2 games in hand and 33 points, so it's really tight in there.
They had the classic thing as well of, I don't know who they lost to the other week, but they got booed. I mean,
Southampton, wasn't it, I think?
Yeah, I mean, who expected West Ham to be this good this season? Nobody really did. I don't think even West Ham fans did. And it's only season before last when they were nearly relegated and then they got Moyes in. And now, you are pushing for the Champions League spots. Boo! Boo! Rubbish. They can all get in a bin with Brighton. In the 2009 film, The Damned United, Stuart Gray portrayed his father, Eddie Gray.
Really?
Mm.
There you go. So what do you feel for the game on Sunday?
You've already asked him that.
No, we're talking about the lineup. What do you feel in terms of an outcome now?
I feel it will probably be a narrow defeat.
And are you fine with that?
Probably, yes. Which makes me a bit sad because I feel like I should care more and want us to win the FA Cup. But I think realistically, we probably won't anyway. And it might result in more injuries. The problem is with the FA Cup, and all cups, in fact, is that Man City can probably rest like half a dozen players, as can Chelsea, Liverpool, Man United, and they'll still have really strong teams out, and eventually you'll have to play one of them. I know Man United is shit now, but they've got a really good squad. And they can kind of get through to the quarterfinals quite effortlessly, and then they can start playing their good team, and they'll just twat you in the quarterfinal.
What would you do with the League Cup? Would you get rid of it?
Nah. Just keep playing it. Keep letting Man City win it. I know that they're out of it this year, actually, aren't they? But
they'll win it next year.
Yeah, exactly.
What would you do with it? Would you keep it? Because if you got rid of that, it'd add a bit more gloss back to the FA Cup, even just a tiny bit. You think?
I mean, the thing is, it only started in the 60s, didn't it? It's not like it's a real heritage. I mean, the 60s feel like yesterday. To me,
I think getting rid of it ends up being the thin end of the wedge, though, because you're appealing to like Champions League clubs is what you're doing by getting rid of it, because they're the people who don't really want it more so than.
But then they always win it.
I know they don't even care though. But just make the European Cup straight knockout, make the Champions League small, and make them play the League Cup and take it seriously.
There are arguments for modernising this stuff because the way the world has changed. Does it make sense to have a football league cup when the Premier League exists, but then always say you can never have any kind of European league competition when that probably makes as much sense as playing somebody from the football league, the Premier League playing against a team from the Bundesliga. Like, do something like that. Should we have a pan-European?
The Intertoto Cup.
Well, I guess we're not in.
No, the Anglo-Italian Cup. Sorry, the Anglo-Italian.
Given the faff that the League Cup causes and that nobody really, gives it any respect anymore, is kind of, do you just keep it limping along for old time's sake when it's not even that old? If you're talking about football traditions.
I'd be sad to see it go because, we've won it and all that, and I'd like to see us win it again, but you just wonder if the chances of that actually happening are. I mean, they're probably better than I estimate, but I look at it and I think, well, yeah, it'll probably be Man City, Arsenal, Chelsea. One of those 4 or 5 clubs will win it just about every year now, forever. So is there any point with it? Given that this what's at stake with the Premier League, I guess, is the root of it.
Well, yeah, and that's a bad reason for doing it. I think
it is a bad reason, but it's still a reason.
Yeah,
I just
like to mollify Jurgen Klopp is not what I would ever do anything particularly, but it's sort of how just because things are old doesn't mean they should be traditions. That's the thing. You've got to give them a certain due reverence for having stuck around so long, but you get a lot of old buildings that people want to keep around just because they're old, and then you actually say, well, if you looked at it, it's fucking rotten and it was never any good in the first place. It's just it was not old warehouses. There's not a real substantial difference between an old warehouse and a new warehouse. They were built for the same purpose. It's just the new ones have metal roofs, whereas the old ones have slate roofs, and people like slate roofs. They don't like metal roofs. So we keep the one with the slate roof and, protect. Oh, no, we can't do anything about that. Whereas it's just a rotten old brick building that was built for tuppence. Just because nobody's cared about it, nobody could be bothered knocking it down.
And that's the League Cup, ladies and gentlemen. It's the shit warehouse.
It's got Pep Guardiola in it with just a stack of silverware. It's like, I don't even want this. So, yeah, and other countries do more about, competitions can change. They just don't tend to change in this country. If you think about, if you ever read Jonathan Wilson's history of Argentinian football, he just doesn't even bother explaining what the league
it's
format
insane, isn't it?
Yeah.
I've actually read about when Newell's won the league with Bielsa. It's insane. They have 2 championships a year, and then the 2 champions are rightly crowned champions, but then play each other off to win the overall championship, don't they?
And relegation being decided on like a rolling 3-year average of points, and all this kind of messing about that I wouldn't endorse or support, but it's still football keeps getting played. Whereas we tend to be very much just like, no, these are the divisions. This is how we play. This is what the competitions are, whether it's any good for us or not. and that's, you could maybe do an assessment and say, well, is this still any good for us?
It's good that we've had a long discussion of the League Cup in an FA Cup preview section.
And the thing is, if you discounted us winning the FA Cup this year, but if there is one tradition and some romance worth supporting, it's the 50th anniversary of us actually winning it, and the 100th anniversary of us being knocked out in the first round proper by Swindon Town 2-1 away.
And we have 50-1 to win it. I just looked at the odds just to give us
50-1 to get to win it in 50 years after. Don't bet on us winning the FA Cup. Anybody?
But do you know what? We've probably, I don't know if it's the fates conspiring around this one, in that you could almost imagine us winning this one just to raise our hopes for the league game the week after, when they'll be dashed, because you wouldn't imagine us winning twice there on the bounce, would you?
The other thing about it is, if you remember last season's second half, after we got over losing to who in the FA Cup, which
Crawley.
Could have been anybody, couldn't it? Crawley.
It's a Gatwick, Crawley.
Gatwick FC. We were brilliant, and that kind of form, if we go on that run again and applied that not just to our improving league position, but to a cup, we could win the FA Cup from here. And we could qualify from Europe from here, but winning the FA Cup I'd settle for. And when we get into Europe.
The Cup Winners' Cup.
And
the
then
competition we should bring back.
And then Rafinha's not going to Bayern Munich, is he?
This is true, yeah. We definitely shouldn't discount the cup competitions. And yeah, the reason why I asked about the League Cup is just because, well, you'd obviously keep the FA Cup, and it might make it better if the League Cup wasn't there, and I don't know. The
thing is, if we had 3 more points, I'd be like, oh yeah, we'll try and win the FA Cup.
Yeah.
We need to play a first team in this, and we'll try and actually do something fun this year. But because we've still got because it's only a few days since we were almost in the bottom 3, it feels like, I still just want us to concentrate on the league for a bit longer.
And the thing is about those 3 points is that they could easily evaporate a week later against West Ham again anyway. So 3 points is almost nothing. Yeah, if you got rid of the League Cup, I think you'd have to do it with rules that create more respect for the FA Cup. Like, okay, we're going to take that away for you. Really sorry, winning it all the time has upset you so much, Pep. But now you're going to have to play your first team in the FA Cup and do it properly, and that's the trade-off.
Every round of the League Cup used to be 2 legs, didn't it?
Yeah.
What a complete madness that was.
Yeah. And then when we've been going back on the match ball 30 through the 90-91 and then the season after the 91-92 as we are now, it's mental, isn't it?
2-leg League Cup ties and unlimited FA Cup replays.
And when you talk about these things no longer being fit for purpose, I guess is the short phrase. One of the reasons that 2-legged is ticket revenue, and one of the reasons these cup competitions existed is ticket revenue, and that's why when Heysel led to the European ban, they brought in domestic cup competitions to make up for the money that people weren't getting from that. Now TV money is such a big deal. I don't know how much of the Sean Harvey millions he negotiated for the League Cup that, everybody's really reliant on, we can't cope without the TV money from the League Cup coverage. But certainly the ticket revenue is at the higher levels, it's not relevant. It's the lower level lower league teams would still get a substantial boost from that, but not the boost they would get if the teams that were playing the first teams, because everybody now knows, we've been drawn against Manchester City, brilliant, they're going to be visiting us in whatever shithole Port Vale or whatever. But they're going to bring a bunch of teenagers, so you already know you don't get the bumper crowd that you might have.
It's like almost like a pre-season friendly, except you've got a cup tie stake.
Can clubs do without the prize money though from the League Cup? Do you know how much money you get for winning it?
20 quid, 25 quid.
£100,000.
Still,
Imagine having £100,000.
we got £100,000 for winning the league 30 years ago, didn't we? £100,000 cheque was presented on the
and this is it. That would make maybe a substantial difference to a lower league club's budget. But Man City win it. So what's the point in giving Man
someone's
City
wage for like a day, more or less, doesn't it?
It pays to keep Benjamin Mendy in prison. Do you want to say that?
That's probably worth spending the money on, to be perfectly honest.
Yeah. Well, anyway, back to this one. There's something in this game for us, isn't there, though? It's a tough ask because they're doing well in the league, but...
It's London, isn't it? Which is not ideal.
There is that. And there's no trains. But there's something to be got from this if we... it's always the same thing, isn't it? It's if we get the favourable wins, if we manage to avoid injuries and the events of the game don't conspire against us, we've got a chance.
I like winning games. It'd be nice to win.
So
and no replays here.
So we might as well just go for it, haven't we?
This will go straight to extra time, or does it go straight to penalties? I don't even know. I don't know how much they've trimmed this down.
Good question. You'd think extra time then penalties, wouldn't you?
Just play first goal winner from the start. That's what I say. Get it over and done with.
It would make it more exciting from the off, wouldn't it?
If all FA Cup ties were won by 1-0 this weekend, it'd be great.
Chances are we're going to lose this, but you never know. I've just got that little feeling. You never know. There's always that little feeling with Leeds that we could pull a rabbit out of the hat.
Extra time will be played according to the very useful and very search engine optimised Crystal Palace website.
Great. Win?
Yeah, why not?
Because the pressure's off. That's why you're saying it, isn't it?
Exactly. I'm not bothered about winning too much, so we probably will.
What about you, Moscow?
I want to put Crystal Palace's website on the shit list because that's last season's FA Cup.
So whatever we said then, disregard.
Who even knows? Right. It's February 2021 was a year ago, wasn't it?
Yep.
Oh, God, I don't know. Let's just let's win the FA Cup. Is that fine? Does anybody have a problem if we do that?
No problem. And that does wrap up part 2 of the weekly podcast. That was our West Ham preview where we talked in depth
at length about the FA Cup,
about dismantling the League Cup.
At least now you'll never forget who knocked us out of the FA Cup in 1922, will you? Curse you, Swindon Town! First Billy Painter, now this.
Part 1 of the show is the news section. Part 3 of the show, stick about for that. Have a look at the heroes and villains section. That is on the way.
The Square Ball Podcast.